Do you want to just
in the corner here?
head over? Here we go. Oh, this is good. So today we'll be talking with John Constable. He's going to show us some artifacts and souvenirs collected by him and his ancestors and tell us a bit of their history. We're at his home in Watertown, New York, and we're starting in, what do you call this room? Your library, your den.
This is our den, yeah.
The den. And we'll just look at some pictures so we can see who the characters are first, okay?
I hope you can stop that every once in a while because some of these I have to look up.
There's so many, it's hard to keep them all straight.
Yeah, this is the Reverend James Pierpont.
We zoom in on that. And he was who?
He was the first minister settled in New Haven, founder of the Yale College, author of the Saybrook Platform, son of John P., who was the son of James of London, Mary Pierpont, wife of James Pierpont, born in Hooker in 1679.
Uh-huh.
Of course, the family married into the Pierponts. That's where they got all their stuff together.
That's right.
Because my middle name happens to be Pierpont.
Oh, it is?
And they were very much together in the land dealings up here in northern New York because I have many papers where it brings in the Pierponts from Pierpont Manor. And this is James Constable. That would be my grandfather, and that would be my grandmother. And this one is John Constable. Let's see if I can get a date on it. Yeah, this is John Constable, and Julia Evelyn is his wife's name. And these are various pictures of the hall and the property were taken way back in the early 1900s.
Uh-huh.
I could name them all, but visibility is the best, I think, because they're very small.
Well, I'll just zoom in on a couple of them here.
And I don't know, this is the hall right here, and this is the back, looking towards the back with the two outbuildings. This is the fountain looking down across the big field.
Mm-hmm.
This is down in by Fish Creek, not Fish Creek, Sugar River Creek in the lower front. I can't see what the heck that is. Oh, this is what we call the cottage. It's up on the corner of the road just across the main street of Constable on the other side of the Sugar River. This is a view from the house to the right. And this is a view of the driveway, and it shows the building.
Uh-huh.
This one I can't catch it.
That's fine.
Yeah, well, I'm taking pictures. Well, I have a good lady here from Federal Commission of going through things, not just out on the wall, yeah. Not yet. No. Oh, don't worry about it. We're just scanning stuff, showing it. Okay. Okay, dear. Yeah. That's my daughter Jane. She just talked with the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick.
Oh, did she?
I got her going. Now let's see, we ended up here.
Right.
This is my dad.
And his name was?
John Pierpont Constable.
Okay,
Same
senior.
as mine.
Mm-hmm.
And this is William Constable, the builder of the hall. And these two, oops, I think these are James and Casimir. James was my grandfather, and Casimir was his brother. Casimir was quite a engineer and was very influential in some of the early things that were developed in the engineering field. He was very, very smart. Then this is Hezekiah Pierpont.
Oh.
Oh, Hezekiah,
There he is.
with the Zodi was pretty rough. This one, just a sec, I'll have to pull it off. This is James Constable. That would be my grandfather as a boy.
And these people grew up at Constable Hall. James did.
Yeah. And then this is James and Casimir as young, very young boys.
Oh, let me see if I can get that.
Can you catch it?
Yeah, just hold it right there, okay? Yeah.
Listen, that goes back a few years.
Very nice. Look at those clothes. Huh. Okay.
And let me see who this handsome guy was. And that was Casimir in his college days.
Where did he go to college?
Harvard.
Harvard.
And of course, did I get this from this old Hezekiah Pierpont? I think.
Hezekiah.
Yeah, that's Hezekiah. Now these two pictures over here, and I think you'll recognize
The colored one?
this one right here, because if you drive through the village of Boonville and go to the end and swing back on the main road that bypasses, if you look to your left when you cross the old canal, you'll see some of those buildings still standing.
Mm-hmm.
There was a friend of mine, so to speak, that he wasn't all there, but he loved photography from Boonville, and he went and dug up all these old pictures, and he kept giving me copies of them because it's history of the past, and I kept collecting them. And this is the first lock going down the Lansing Kill Gorge on the canal.
What was your friend's name?
I can't tell you that now. I think maybe it's on the back.
And he took these pictures?
No, he dug them up. They were old daguerreotypes and stuff. This was lot number 64 on the way to Boonville.
They were colored then, right?
He had them done that way.
Oh, okay.
He did them, but he was a photographic nut. That's all he could do. He was a little bit odd in many ways, but he and I always discussed this type thing, and he thought it was great, and he would give me, every time you completed one of those, he'd give me one of them.
Okay, so this was
That's the old canal at Boonville.
Block 69 right there in the middle.
Yeah, that's on the Lansing Kill Gorge down going into Rome. See, the
Okay.
Lansing Kill Gorge goes
This
right
one,
down through
this
Rome.
one right there.
And
Very
this-
interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of history on that old canal. You drive down, I've got some other pictures out of newspapers and so on, where they took pictures all the way down through that I saved. This was my dad. That was taken in 1916. It was at the Edison Field Day at the Edison Laboratories.
And your father worked for Thomas Edison?
He was chief engineer for Thomas A. Edison at the time of his death.
Uh-huh. And something hangs in Constable Hall that is signed by Thomas Edison, right? A letter by Thomas Edison?
Oh yes, that's up there. And there's a few mementos too that I saved from there. And then this is, I don't think there's any point on, this is my camp up on Tug Hill.
Uh-huh.
One of my friends is up there. He's not an artist, but he drew that up. He did a pretty good job on it.
Which one?
This one right here.
Oh.
That's on lot 92 in the middle of nowhere.
Lot 92, do you have them all memorized?
I have the number memorized because I have to look on the maps to see where it is.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
they got a number.
Tell us about the Constable Hall picture again. That's your favorite?
That's my favorite. That was taken, I don't know if I put a date on it or not. I know it was taken back around 1934, 35.
Uh-huh.
And a friend of mine was a good photographer. And it's very hard to get a picture like that because the front slopes off. From the fountain down, it slopes down so heavily. But I got rummaging around in the old workshop and I found a great big old ladder in the basement, about this wide, and I figured, boy, that must have been what they used to work on the front windows or something. So we lugged it down the field, and then to steady it, I took some 2x4s and drove them in and nailed them to it, and then I kept raising it until I got it just where he wanted it, and that was the picture he took, because every other picture you took, the house was always standing on end.
Mm-hmm.
You had to get up almost level with it in order to get a straight view. And that's my favorite picture, because we worked all one afternoon getting it set up to come out right and to show the detail of the whole building.
Could you explain what you told me about the roof again?
Well, these fascia boards, they're strictly an architectural thing. It makes it, you don't actually see the roof when they're on there. But at the time of the restoration of the hall into the museum set up, they were pretty well rotted off.
When was that?
This is about that in 47. And when they did the place over and kind of got it opened up for the public, they took those off because they had to do the roof over, and they left them off because they were a terrible snow catcher. And you had to have someone available, and after every snowstorm, you go up and shovel back, because if you don't, you got leaks. And at the present time, there's quite a bit of motion by the so-called experts in restoration that we figure we should put them back on again. But
Uh-huh.
I asked them several times, they want to pay somebody to go up and shovel the snow off them every time it gets deep enough. But they were on there at the time that I can remember. And I know when they were taken off, but I don't know whether they were original or not. That's one thing I can't assure you.
Uh-huh. Is there anything else up there we need to see?
Well, this one and this one are just a couple of islands that I
Uh-huh.
picked up somewhere, and I hang them up there as I like them. Somebody gave them to me, didn't know what they were doing.
Uh-huh. What is that in the corner?
This one here.
Is that a
Well,
plane?
this is certificate of appreciation from out there tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. And what about above that?
This one here.
Uh-huh.
This is the largest and most effective weapon of war ever constructed. Weight of the gun, 130 tons. Weight of projectile, 2,400 pounds. Length, 49.5 feet. Diameter of bore, 16 inches. When universal peace is assured, the steel in this gun would furnish material for making 17,334 plowshares or 52,000 pruning hooks. It would make 312 million carpet tacks. The trajectory, or greatest distance in the air to which the projectile rises, is 5 miles. It has the power to hurl this shot a distance of 21 miles at the rate of 23,000 feet per second. Converted into wire of ordinary finesse, this gun would reach 7,091 miles. And it came from the landscape photographer ordnance department, Sandy Hook, New Jersey.
So it's old.
Yeah. But why they would go to all the trouble of manufacturing all that, I don't know. But it was kind of interesting, so I hung it up here.
Uh-huh.
There's the old long rifle. It hangs up over the kitchen fireplace at the hall. And that's the one they used to loan the Indians to go out and shoot their winter's meat for them. And it takes a good man to hold it up straight, I'll tell you, because that is long. You can see my height, so that's just about 6 feet. And when you try and take that thing and hold it up straight, and it's heavy.
So who hung that in the kitchen?
This was hung in the kitchen over the fireplace.
Forever.
That's where it was when we went to the hall in 1921.
Uh-huh.
I've kept it from rusting, and I put it on display every year. I bring it home and keep it here in the wintertime.
Who originally bought that?
Who originally bought it? I haven't the slightest idea.
So the Constables were hunters. I understand
Yes,
they
they were all over the...
went up to the Adirondacks a lot.
Yes, they were all over. See, I've got one deed of 1,920,000 acres of the state of New York, known as the Macomb Purchase, that William bought, which went way up into the Adirondacks. And that's why they were up in that area so much, because they had holdings there that went back a good many years. But that deed I have a copy of it at the hall on the wall so people can read it. I have the original here. But it's 3 pages. It's about 2.5 feet long.
Maybe we'll get to see the original later and
Yeah.
the rest of your gun collection.
Well, that's all in the safe. I have to pull it all out. This I
Well,
can't
we
get in
have
the-
plenty of other things to say.
Yeah, I can't get this one in the safe, that's the reason I leave it here.
What about this satellite photo? Is that,
That's recent. That was given to me, quite a number of years ago. I would say it's not
there's
that
some
old.
glare.
Yeah.
I don't think we can see that anyway.
This desk came from the hall, and that table came from the hall. Of course, it's good messy now. Now, this is very unique.
Oh.
This was a private commode. This cover lifted up, and pull this out. There's a hole where the this front, this used to lift up and went back, and there was a piece that dropped down here.
Who did this belong to?
And then what you did when you were through, you put this piece back up with the cover down. And this opened up here, just like that, so you could take the body out and dump it.
And this was at the hall?
Yeah. Was that one?
I can put that back in for you.
Oh, that's all right. I should have left it the way it was, but it was so useless you couldn't use it for anything, and I thought, well, I've got a good use for it. And that's the condition it was in when I brought it down.
How old do you think it is?
I would say that goes back middle 1800s. Middle 1800s.
Interesting.
But it was quite unique because the top lifted up just as nice, and this door was hinged to the top. The knobs are on here. So it looked like a cabinet. When you put it up, the thing dropped down, and there was a little arm on each side, so you'd sit there like this and enjoy it. Well, they didn't spare the horses in those days, you know. They had everything pretty well set up. These plates all came from the hall, but I can't give you much history on them.
Okay. Do you want to just...
I can't even tell you who they are or what they are.
Okay.
But, they were part of one of the cupboards up there that had a lot of odds and ends like this in it, so I got the holders and set them up where people could see them.
They're beautiful.
This one shows the White House, I'm pretty sure. I think that's the White House.
This way on the back there. Mount Vernon, 1744 Mount Vernon, 1900. The home of Washington. Wedgwood, China. Sole importers.
So that's what it is.
Copyright 1899, JMND and something.
It's awful hard to see it. We had a magnifying glass right
Puria, England. Very nice.
I mean, that's the type of thing that you don't throw away. I mean, you hang it on the wall and do something with it.
That's beautiful.
It's a collector's item, really. I don't know what... I don't look at these enough to really be able to tell you what they are. Let's see what this one says. This one doesn't say anything. It's got a mark on it, but somebody that knows it could tell you what that mark means. But I don't. Let's see if I can go back. This one's kind of unique. It's quite a...
Let's see. Oh yeah, I can take that. Oh boy. Fury Villas? Fairy Villas.
Stone china, I think, is it?
Stone china, yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's just one of those things that
Pretty.
you pick up and... They got both shoulders shot.
I'll put that back.
I get it. This one they wanted to fix, and I said to Doc, what can you do with it? Well, he said, take a year and a half to get used to using it. I said, I could be dead by that time.
Is that from the hall too?
All these came from the hall, yeah.
Okay, and that one? Is that Wedgwood?
This pink one here, I think, is, this is Copeland. It's English Spode. And it says Greek, and then it's got the number underneath it.
Uh-huh.
It must be a registered pattern.
Uh-huh.
What it's
Copeland
Spode
Lake
were.
Spode.
Oh, they're just odds and ends that And they sent me that. I belong to my son's Revolution, New York, but I don't do anything. Because William fought with them in the so-called War of Liberation, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what else we can dig up around here for you.
Well, we could move to another room if you think. We can do the
yeah,
papers later. In the living room. And where did they come from?
They're English. And we're in the drawing room at the hall, and they date around 1773, I think they are.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, 1773. And John Bordell. Engraver in Cheapside. So that's very definitely English.
And your sister has more?
Yeah, she's got a couple of them too. There's 9 of those chairs. You know what they bring on the market?
Well, tell me about them.
They came from the hall. They're all maple. I don't know. I imagine they were made in Lewis County or somewhere because I've never been able to find out where they came from.
Huh.
I've got, there's 8 or 9 of them. I think one of them got broken years ago when there was no repair on it. But I think there's 8 complete ones. And of course these old time style rockers you used to see. There's still a lot of them around.
What's that from?
And that was a little chair that was up at the hall, a little handmade chair, child's chair they call it. And we never threw anything out. And the mirror was up there too, but that's just a piece of glass. It's not what we'd call much of an antique.
Oh, that'll take a while.
That's quite a cabinet.
Well done.
Is that glared there? Or?
No, it's fine. So, this was done by whom?
John Constable, the English artist.
Uh-huh. And how is he related to you?
Well, he is, but you got to go back quite a
How
ways.
was he? Yeah.
Far beyond my recollections, I can assure you. But he's recognized as having been a member. Those families in those days, they would split, and one would go east and one west, and the other north and south, and they didn't come together unless somebody really started to do something, and then they started looking them up to see what their kinship was. And he finally was tied into the family. But I can tell you it's a view near Matlock, Derbyshire, England, by John Constable, R.A., which means Royal Artist. And that's it. So
Was that at the hall?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of a little treasure. Actually, I don't know what to do with it. You can't leave it in the hall. It's so easily picked up. I've often thought of seeing what I can get for it because we need a roof at the hall and stuff like that. And this would be get a lot of notoriety at the same time and maybe get some extra funding from it. But it's something that the average person to hang it on the wall, period. That's about all. And he's famous for a lot of his landscapes, so I don't know what I'll have to do. I got to make up my mind one of these days.
So do you want to peek in the cabinet? Oh, and where's this cabinet from?
That came from the hall. There's a little discussion of just exactly what it is. They used to tell me it was French and came out through some of the French palaces and so forth. had a man here who was supposed to know furniture very, very well, and he said he didn't think that was it. Well, I said, I'm only repeating what I was told, but you can see that the inlay in here is terrific, and that sat in the hall for 15 years with no heat or anything in that building, and it never raised any of that inlay. You can feel it's just as smooth as anything, and there's so many things in here that you can spend hours. This is a beautiful miniature of Mrs. William Constable of Bombay. Now, she went to India, and this was always known as the Bombay Portrait. And it's very fine, and is considered an excellent piece. That was Mrs. William of Bombay. They never put a date on this stuff. Casimir was the last one to have it, and then was left the hall, and I got it. Let's see. There's a lot of these trinkets that they picked up in their travels, and that doesn't fall off of there. They went to Europe, and they used to go in everywhere. And this little box here is rather interesting. This is bought in the prison at Toulon in 1858. Work of one of the prisoners. And if you can see it, I don't know if you can get that or not, but the workmanship on that thing is fantastic.
It's just made out of wood?
It's wood, yeah. It just opens up like that. And you can see what's on the back, and these all represent battle scenes. I don't know how prisoners were able to do anything like that, because it is so terrific. And it says on here, Bataille de Saalfeld, Saalfeld, Saalfeld. And I think that this one, I tell you, came, he bought it at the prison in Toulon, France in 1858. It was work of one of the prisoners.
Now, who bought that?
Casimir.
Casimir.
Yeah. They've got some more of these things that they bought. But can you imagine making a thing like that?
Wow.
It's just amazing, the carving in it.
Remarkable.
That's the type of thing that they collected all over. And let's see. I think this is another one here. Let me get the history of it first.
Okay.
Which one is which? Every once in a while I run, I can't read that. Maybe I can read this one. Some of them even have lots of hair in them, you know, and you tell whose it is. Okay.
I remember these two papers say the same thing.
Well, this one is French snuff box with Alexander Hamilton's comment. In this a little piece of paper enclosed, you will find the reason of the event of the duel between General Hamilton and Colonel Burr, better accounted for than the one in a dozen of the evening posts. And this is the thing on the bottom of it. It said, God takes the good, too good on earth to stay, and leaves the bad, too bad to take away. I mean, these things are just riotous when you get into them. But you can see whether you can see it or not, the engraving on the front of that thing. And these are, again, prisoners in those darn prisons. And then they visit them and they'd buy these things. And they did beautiful work. And even the back of it is kind of etched a little to get away from being plain. You get a lot of this stuff that you just can't believe. And then I'll have to show the one good family picture that I think is really something. This is William Constable of Bombay. She went to India, and this is very unusual, and more people who know what it is say it's priceless. because that type of work, and the detail, if you notice, the shading of the face and everything, how they did it, I don't know. It's fantastic. But that's who it is, and she's always been known as Mrs. William of Bombay.
Who made the tag for the back?
Did
you do that?
No, that's been on there a good many years. Because you can see by the writing color. No, these things were all at the hall. It was given to Casimir by his cousin. Yeah. But it's all these years, it's never faded, never changed. So they must have done some awful good work in those days.
Mm-hmm. So what else do you have in there?
Oh, gosh. This is another one. This is one of the prisoners. It's got the Lord's Prayer on it, but it's etched onto a shell. That came from one of the other prisons. I don't know just which one. It doesn't slip in to tell you where it came from, but when they were touring the country, they'd stop in all these various places and pick up these odds and ends, and we've been able to keep them together and know approximately what they are. There was a slip of paper in there at one time, but can't see it now. And let's see. Now this got some history here. This is money from Gabon River, French Africa, value of about $20. William Carnaron, wife and missionary, gave it to me through Dr. somebody at 1901. That was considered currency in southern Africa. Yeah, it's metal.
And leather? Or
yeah, it's leather. But it's considered money. Money from Gabon River, French Africa.
Huh. So who was in Africa to buy that?
Well, I imagine that was probably Casimir or somebody like that, because he got around everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see what other I can find in here. We had that one. Did I show you this one?
Yes.
Yeah, we did that one.
Oops.
Okay, this box was made out of a piece of wood brought from Erie, the first canal boat in 1825, the Seneca Chief. And that's the cover, and it shows the emblem of the Seneca Chief.
Who acquired that?
Well, that is a
Say
good question.
1825.
Yeah. Probably John or James.
Uh-huh.
They
But
did-
all these things are from the Constables.
Oh yeah, they were all in here. I brought this down and loaded, as you can guess. This is all of the small stuff.
What kind of small stuff?
Awful small.
Okay. Well,
This is given to Father in Paris in 1857. Said to be a genuine French eagle picked up by the giver at the field of Waterloo. And that is, I'll put it on here so maybe you can see the eagle. That was a military ornament, actually.
what is it made out of?
It's brass.
Uh-huh.
A genuine French eagle picked up at the place where the Battle of Waterloo took place. Probably was on the uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what this is. You know, this is Greek one. Well, that's this one here. You can see a little bit better what that says.
Said to be genuine French eagle picked up at the field of Waterloo.
Given to William Constable in 1857.
Wow.
That's the serial. I couldn't read that on there as well as that. Let's see, what's this? Oh boy. Oh, these are pieces of hair.
Whose hair?
It says Mother 1855. Don't ask me.
Wow.
And this one is JEC, Julie Constable 1886. And this one is Henry 1864. You can't open them, I don't know what happened if we did. I think this. This is awful hard to see. This was found in the well at the old place in Schenectady belonging to John Constable, who went there in 1760. This was a seal off some letter or something, and they were able to identify it. And that goes back to 1760. That's the way they sealed envelopes in those days. They had a...
And he found it in a well.
Yeah, in Schenectady. Yeah, let's see. Well, it says needles and gold thimble, but I don't see the gold thimble. These were shoe buckles. I used to put them on the front of their shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are shoe buckles. And this, the cover from my father's snuff box, 1810, signed John Constable.
Oh, I see the picture.
Cover the snuff box.
What is that made out of?
It feels like a paper that's been treated.
Uh-huh.
It may be wood. It's very, very light wood if it's wood. But that's the top of his snuff box. And those are shoe buckles, I know that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you get all this little stuff. It really doesn't belong here. It should be somewhere where it's... Because it's posterity that we're showing,
Mm-hmm.
not the present. Of course, you can't live in this age anymore. You got to get out of that. Well, let me see. Okay. This little box, if you can catch it,
Mm-hmm.
This box was made of a piece of wood
Oh, I think we might have seen that.
brought from Erie on the first canal boat, the Seneca Chief, in 1825. They used to do a lot of this monkey business. I don't know why. They had nothing else to do, I guess. Well, let's see what else we could add.
Maybe we can just take a peek at everything. Oh, that's what we just had. With the buckles and...
Yeah, that's in the buckles.
Uh-huh. What about that little purse? In the back, the leather purse.
This?
Yeah.
Well, that was a purse, but I don't think there's anything on it. So,
I think you told me when I was here once before that that was an Indian purse.
yeah, I think it was made, one of the Indians made it for him. And that you just lift this up and then you pull this out to get into it. And you didn't want to have anything very big, that's for sure. You wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
get it out of it.
What about that book? Is that...
Well, that's a good idea. Let's see what that is. Well, let's see.
Oh, that looks like a wax seal or something.
John Constable, 18... Is that 56?
Mm-hmm.
See what we got. Oh, it's all... Oh, it's got everything on it.
Service of the church. It's It's a church kind of book.
Yeah.
Common Prayer, Book of Common
But
Prayer.
it gives you
okay.
all the history of the. It's all history.
Mm-hmm.
It's got everything in it, I guess, that you needed.
What is this little book? Is that what that is?
No, but we'll find out. It's a book of common prayer.
Oh, it's teeny.
And 1901.
The Finger Prayer Book.
Yeah. That was my mother's.
Oh,
She
it
got
was.
it from her mother.
Who's the baby picture in the back?
That's a good idea. I don't know who's that. That was my dad.
Oh, very nice.
That's August. No. Yeah, that was Dad. 11/11/88.
Uh-huh.
So that's got a few years on it.
Would it be too much trouble to just lift most of the little things up so I can get a picture of them?
No, I can. Well,
Is that a snuff box?
no, that's a snuff box.
And it's, what, silver?
Yeah, it's silver. Oh yes.
Whose was that?
It's got an initial on it. You
Oh,
can
it
see
does.
it. Yeah, I can't see it.
AC.
And a Constable.
And it has a ship over that. Very
Yeah,
nice.
let's see what this is. I think this is somebody's hair. And you can read that. I
Uh-huh.
can't. Oh, wait a minute, maybe this is better. It says hair of William Constable and his wife.
Anna White, his wife.
Yeah,
right?
Anna White was
Mm-hmm. What was William's middle name? William Kern?
Kern, K-E-R-N.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Is
goes-
that Ivory?
Yeah, that goes
Mhm.
back almost to the building of the hall,
Excuse me.
darn close to it. And these are just, that's a little nutmeg grater, as you probably know, they used to carry. And they take their own nutmeg and then they'd scratch it on here and then they carry it in their pocket.
Uh-huh.
Why you carried nutmeg, I don't know, but
Uh-huh.
that was on there. Oops. Get that thing on there. Forward again. And these are all little figurines that they picked up on their European trip. I know some of them are Italian, some of them are French, some of them are German. They were all over. And this was, remember they used to carry that on their watch chain and then they stamped their initials on it.
Oh.
That was Stevenson Constables. That's the way they used to leave their mark, as they used to say. And then this one here's got the family coat of arms on it. And it's all engraved in that stone. And they'd carry that and they could do this with it and leave their imprint so they knew where they'd been and where they were going, I guess. These are just odds and ends. Now, some of these came, I know, from Italy or in the Vesuvius area that they picked up. This is a little Swiss house here that's quite unique. They picked up in Switzerland. It's all handmade. It's in beautiful condition.
Now, who picked this up?
I
Casimir?
think Casimir picked that up, yeah. Let's see if this has got anything in it that tells us what it is. No, this was on my mother's family. It said it belonged to her grandfather. Piece of Wedgwood.
What about that pipe in the back? What is that?
This, that's a, I think it's a, I'm trying to remember now.
You can leave it right in there. I can see it
Yeah,
fine.
it's in the Asiatic area. It's a water pipe and all that's what they clean with and all that crap that's in it. I can't really tell you too much about it.
Uh-huh.
And I bought these in China for 50 cents a piece. They're rose.
Uh-huh.
And look at the workmanship on them.
When were you in China?
with Uncle Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Had a little tour over there. And let's see, who was this? Hezekiah Beer's Pierpont, that's his spoon. How that got in there is an odds and ends, I don't know, but...
Uh-huh.
Well, let's see what else. These little figurines, they picked up all over the world, Vesuvius, you name it, because they travel so much.
Uh-huh.
It's terribly hard to really... Now this, here's an old little lock. The reason I saved it, it used to be to the spring house.
At Constable Hall?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, pardon me. To the wine cellar. This is my 1812. That was on the wine cellar. Can you imagine? Take a good axe, I think you could pound it to pieces in a hurry. And this is a piece of the first Atlantic cable. I know what that is, and that's modern.
Oh, where'd you get that?
My mother got it somewhere.
Uh-huh.
It was given to my dad, and she stuck it in here.
What about that box on the left?
In here?
Oh, right here.
Well, let's see what's in it. No, it doesn't say anything at all. Those are currency bills.
Mm-hmm.
Before they had change and everything. They're 10 cents and 5 cents, but there's no history on the box.
There's a piece of paper in there.
Yeah, but that just
What are the
old,
rocks?
Old Dutch silver, but it doesn't. I don't see any. But those are old currencies, paper chains, I guess you'd call it. Let me see if there's anything on it. No, there's nothing on it. All I know is it's been here for years. There's an old map of London and this descriptive poem. There's a head of date on it here somewhere. It was given to John Constable by Mary McVicker. That's 1812.
And she's a relative, right?
Yeah, the McVickers married into the Constable, yeah. That's what that is. There's John. That is quite a nice picture of him in his older years.
Let me see if I can zoom in.
He was quite white-haired. I joined him. I haven't got as much hair as he had. No. That's a daguerreotype. You can't get a picture of that yet. But I think that's old Jenny. But you can't hardly see it, so
Mm-hmm.
there's any point looking at it. Now, let's see. I don't know the story of that little sailboat, but it's always been in here. And let's see. At one time, these keys came from England, and they were...
Those are big.
Yeah, they were supposed to be to somebody's fancy castle over there, but I don't have anything on them.
Okay. Do you want to look at some books?
Yeah.
Or some more furniture? You have so much in here, it's hard to slow down in one spot.
Yeah, I can't. Let me just stuff this stuff back in here. And stuff in your case to get.
This is a Tuggy Hill table.
Yeah. 8 leg.
I need to get away from it so I can see it. 8 legs? You know what town it was made in?
Well, I imagine down in West Leiden, because that's where most of the stuff the family had came from. And you can see the width of the leaves. And these chairs are all little handmade chairs.
From Tuggy Hill too?
Yeah. They were all green, yellow, red, barn paint, and everything else. You know what I did? I scraped them all with glass, because I didn't want to ruin the wood, because it raises.
With glass?
Yeah, you can, oh yeah. That's the best way to take paint off if you can, is with glass. And I save all the broken paints in a box, and then if I have to scrape something, I much
kidding.
prefer to paint remover.
What kind of wood is that?
I can't really tell you. It's a hardwood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know really what it is, to be honest with you. But these chairs were a mess when I started on them. Oh,
How long did it take you?
4 years. I didn't do them all at once.
Okay, and you said this was from the hall?
Yeah, that came from the hall.
Move this. Don't trip.
Just a collection of family silverware, family glassware, and odds and ends, you know.
Uh-huh.
You can't, like my mother used to collect paperweights like that. So you put them all together.
Now, I understand you have some interesting books.
Well, yeah, these are all Scott's first editions of Marmon, Lady of the Lake, Brookery. And there's one of them here that, I can't find which one it is. The Constable got into the printing of it for some reason. I'm trying to find one. Archibald Constable and Company, Edinburgh, and Longman, Hurst, Rees, Horn, and Brown, London, 1815. There's 4 of them. One of them's in kind of bad shape, this one here. But the pieces are all there.
And where did you get those?
Those are at the hall.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah. And this is a Bible. It's known as a breeches Bible. Now, the story they gave me was that they wore breeches instead of loincloths in the original history. And the date is 1624. And it's in perfect shape. And they call it the Breeches Bible. A breacher was a guy, I guess, that must have ridden it or something. But it's rather unusual. They said the reason it was called that because they didn't use a loincloth. But the date is 1624.
Book of Common Prayer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Arms of David of the translation, which is appointed to be viewed in church. Oh, we've got a lot of, there's all kinds of books here that you can go through and
Who's in the pictures? Who's that?
well, I think this is my eldest daughter, Jane.
Mm-hmm.
That's mostly Jane here. It's when they're out in the Army in St. Joe. She was born in St. Joe, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
This came from the hall, too. And all this stuff up here. Now, these, you can get those from the other side. Those
Uh-huh.
pieces of willowware. You see, Constable Rucker and Company were in the Oriental trade. And that's where most of this willowware came from. I've got platters upstairs this big around that
Oh,
Through
I
door.
saw those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we'll
got
have
some.
to get those too.
we can go up and take a picture of those. And those fruit baskets and the lace on, you can get
Uh-huh.
them from
I
this
should-
side. If you get back here, you can
Oh, I
get,
can see, yeah.
you can get a
Those
good
are
shot.
beautiful.
They did quite a bit with Rucker and Company in that China trade. They were all over. They were the first to break into the Far East.
Very nice.
Now this thing up here, it was what they call peace plate. Now I'm only repeating this from what somebody told me, in that the Indians that were in the area around Constableville or back in that section were very friendly with him, and they gave him that as a token of friendship. It's just a piece of grass all stained and rolled together, and it's always hung at the wall. And I don't know that he didn't want it, so I brought it down here and hung it up.
Nice.
It's a good
Okay, how
place.
about the canes?
Well, they all came from the hall. Let me see. This is my hospital project here.
You're volunteering.
Well, I try and do these books for the newborn babes. They have to put them all together. These canes. This is a deer hide of 1860 or something. Don't know, cashmere. I'll take this off here. That's a little modern. I can hang this in here to have it look better.
Huh.
Get it hang somehow. Yeah, we'll do it this way. Just to fill up the void. And this was used in making tapestry.
Oh, no kidding. I can hold this.
So I'll hang that in here too, just to... Oops. Yeah, let's see.
Who collected the canes?
The family collected this stuff over a period of time. They were great collectors. They never threw anything away. Now this one here
The black
was
one?
presented to me by Governor Horatio Seymour, September 1883, on leaving the hall. He was the governor of New York State at one time. And most of them are tagged and tell you where they come from.
Uh-huh. Very nice.
I don't know, I think I wrote it all down on here one time. Yeah, I got it all written down here. You can take a picture of it, you want to take some copy of it.
Okay.
I think.
So you have them all numbered.
Yeah.
What is that thing with the sharp hook on it? On the right here on the end. This way up here.
Oh, that's a Swiss alpenstock. And what they used to do was carve on here all the places they went. Here's Mer de Glace. That was a big glacier. And then you come down here to Gotthard Rigi. That was a big pass where the trains go through now. And then this was Culum or Halen. And this was, let's see. I can't, it's hard to do.
Did this belong to one of the constables?
Yeah, Casimir was the one that did all the European.
And he carved that in himself?
Yeah, he put all that in there and they carried it with him and wherever he went. It's got a spike in one end and it's got this antelope goose on here. Let's see. Silver mounted cane, that's this one here. That was Casimir's. And then
we can copy that list if you want to move.
yeah, you can copy as far as that goes.
So did they all use canes?
That was quite a thing in those days. People
Kind
did.
of part of the outfit?
Now some of these here are wood from some of their tropical trips with their fishing, or with their, not their fishing, with their, you might say commerce that they were doing in the South America section. Some of them tell you where they It's a coffee plant taken from Cuba in 1830. It's
Just
a stalk from a
kidding.
coffee plant. I mean, they were very good. They, addressed a lot of this stuff. So that you, well, let's look in there. Here we are. You get in the right place, it'll plug.
Oh, there you go. Oh, here, let me help.
It's got just a little tiny hole in it, see the wire?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that right there. Oh, no, I see that hole.
And this one here was presented to me by Governor Seymour, September 1883, on leaving the hall. He was governor of New York State at that time. I think let's see if I can read this one. Brought from Cuba in 1866. What it is, I don't know, but it came from Cuba. So they got around somewhere. Oh, maybe you can read that one.
Okay. Wild something. Oh boy. No, I can't. It is from Cuba, 1836.
Yeah, well, it's all about the same trip, I think, that they were down there. But you know, you get so much of this stuff, you never know what to do with it, so you... Let's see, get that hook here.
Here, I'll help you with that.
I got it called. It's a walking cane, but it's always been called a shillelagh. Because if you got in trouble, you could drown somebody with it, and they didn't get up again because this knob is solid. But they always had that knob on there so that they could hit somebody and also hold it with their hand. These are more or less, you might say, dress canes here that used in like this type of thing, and this is strictly, I think this is CCC on a Casimir Constable, so they were fashionable to have canes in those days. And we had them kicking around the hall, so I brought them down here and set them all up there. They've been there a long time.
Okay, well, why don't we move on to another room?
Well, my horse names aren't up there. I got a pair of those in here.
What are they?
Got a pair of these. They go on each side of the collar.
Oh.
Yeah. I had them hanging there, but they people hit them and knocked them down because I couldn't really get them. But there's a pair of them that came from up the hall. When you show that, you can show the rest of it up there, and people know.
Okay.
It went on their collar. I had them hanging there, but they kept getting knocked down, so I saved the furniture and everything else right there. That's quite a map there of the area. That's an old one.
Yeah, I think I'll have to move to get that in.
Well, there's a plug-in
Oh no,
right
I
here.
can see, I guess.
There's a plug-in right there.
That's county.
And those were the slate valves that they used here.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of gray buildings on the left, in one corner, just as you're going down the hill. That used to be Bush's feed mill. And Louis Bush was the original owner of it. And his phone number was 46. That was in the days when you didn't have too many numbers. And it shows all the lots on Tug Hill and everything. It's really an awful good map.
And where did you get it?
It was in among a bunch of papers, and I unfolded it and spent quite a bit of time getting it to open up. I was afraid I'd break it, you know, it was dried so, but I kept moistening it with steam. I didn't hit water, I just kept steaming it a little bit with a steam iron. And I finally got it soft enough so I could put it in a frame. It's hung there for a good many years. Mine is lot number 92 in the town of Osceola, but it's way over in here.
There's Osceola.
But it's kind of unique because it shows Louis Bush's feed mill, you know, and all that on it. Proprietor of Central Electric Mills.
Uh-huh.
They don't have a date on it, though. There's no date. But it was all rolled up in pretty bad shape, and I spent a lot of time trying to get the creases out of it. And I got most of them out. It came out good. It took a lot of monkey business. It did settle down because I didn't dare put it in too tight. And a period of time it has settled to the bottom, but it doesn't make any difference because the border's still good on it, you know.
I love those sleigh bells.
Yeah, they all came from the hall. That is an awful long string right there. I don't know how they got that on one horse, but they must have done it some way. And I had the two what's called hanging on each side, but they kept getting knocked down, so I took them down. They fell off and hit somebody.
Very nice. Is this your house right here? Oh, your wife's
That's this
father's.
one. That's this one. And you can see it hasn't changed an awful lot.
Oh, Walter Harrison Bisnet.
Yeah. See, he owned from the children's home all the way back to where 801 housing is and all the way down to the corner. And he had a farm here. This was a farm, and he peddled milk in Watertown in the days when they used to drive with the big tanks this big on the back of a wagon, and you brought your bucket out and they poured it in. And when I came back from service, there was a big barn out here. And behind it was a chicken coop and everything else. So of course we didn't use it. It was in bad shape. So a guy came along and said, "Can I have that barn? You take it all down. You can have it." Because what could you do with it? You couldn't do anything. You had to maintain it in order to keep it from falling in, and there was some good timbers in it. So I gave it to him to take it down and clean it up. The platform is still out there, and that's where I keep my wood pile and everything.
Oh.
But see, this house, that part, the old part was built around 1838. This was built around late 1800s, this side here. So this house is not new. I mean, it's an antique too.
Uh-huh. I was just reading something that said the oldest, our GIS system, we have some new data on there we got from the county. And the oldest house in the county, or in Watertown at least, was up on State Street Hill.
Yeah.
Right at where State Street Road comes out. A woman whose maiden name was Taylor lives there now, I think.
Yeah, that's changed. I used to know everybody on the hill and everybody in the country, but since I've been out of business for 30 years, I don't know them all.
So right next door that way was the ice business?
No, and Hartman's was right across the road. The ice business was across the road.
And Bisnet's
And this
ran
was all,
that before they got into refrigeration?
No, this was all farming here. And the old man peddled milk for years. Well, then when his son took it over, he converted to more or less of a modern mill for farm feed and fertilizer and all that stuff. Well, when I came, and he'd also been into milking equipment and water pumps and so on, a good man. So when I came back from service, I worked for the Wrigley Company. They wanted me to go to Chicago. Well, I was just about not going to Chicago, I can tell you. So I looked it all over and I said to Marion, "I'd like to stay here." And I said, "I'll go down and talk to the men." I knew them because I talked with them, and they're a good bunch of men. And so I went down and talked with them, and this was after Marion's dad died. And we kind of got along together, and I didn't want them to object to me taking it over, you know, so I tried to work with them. And I worked on the jobs with them just as though I was the hired man in order to learn the business. And you can't run a business if you don't know it yourself. I don't care what anybody tells you. You got to get your hands dirty sometimes to find out. And I got very interested in the milking industry because it was just at the time they started coming in with parlor milking, pipeline milking, your bulk tanks, new method of refrigeration and no more milk cans and all this. And it was rather an interesting time because we really pioneered so much of it. And so many of the companies that were trying to produce this did it under perfect conditions. They didn't do it on a farm like we did when we put them out. We got the farmer, and he wasn't always the easiest man to teach anything to or know how to take care of things until you really spent some time with them. So we really pioneered a lot of this present milking industry that's done day to day. It was an awful job, and then we had refrigeration too. And my original concept was ice. Either you threw the ice in the ice box or you opened the door and it was electrically cooled. Well, when you got into the bulk tank business, that was different because we had 1,000-gallon tanks, you know, and put compressors on them, and we had a lot of work. And I enjoyed it because it was a challenge, right? From the day we started, it was a challenge. And along with this, of course, they'd always been in the water pump business. Well, then we got into water purification and so forth, which became a requirement on farms. The Board of Health's got after the water system, so they had to have decent stuff, and went into chlorination, filtration, and all that, and water pumps. And we did a lot of things they said couldn't be done because nobody tried them. I had two awful good men. They'd been one up in there 20-some years when I took it over. the other had been there 15, and the other guy had been there about 10, so they knew the way around. And they enjoyed working where things were accomplished, and you know, if you get people that get interested like that, you don't have much trouble getting things done. And a man could call us at 10 o'clock at night. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, this fellow stopped me on the street. He said, "John, you probably don't remember me. Remember one time about 10 o'clock at night, you got a phone call? I didn't have any water since 6 o'clock, and my wife was climbing up and down my back, and I figured I'd better do something, so I gave you a call. You came out and fixed it in a half an hour. You got me off the hook." Yep, I said, "Remember, don't ask me your name, because I couldn't tell you that, but I remember doing it." She said, "I couldn't get anybody else in North Country to come out at 10 o'clock at night to fix a water pump, because the wife was riding him to death because it broke down early in the evening, and we answered calls at reasonable hours, you know, and stuff like that. And usually it was that late, they'd wait till morning, but he'd been fighting with his wife since early evening.
So how long have you been retired?
73.
And you've been busy organizing and taking care of Constable Hall ever since?
Yeah, and I like to be busy, and people call me, and I go out and do little odd jobs for them, especially people that I know that, I'll put it very frankly, just can't afford the average wage today, $42 and $50 an hour to come put a switch on a pump and stuff like that. You know.
Oh, you still do that? I didn't know that.
Just on people that I'm very familiar with. I mean, old customers,
Uh-huh.
especially, well, it's many of the ladies that are left, and they'll call me and say, "John, you know, I've had trouble with this pump, and I wonder if you could come take a look at
So
it."
it's people in the country?
Yeah, ladies that have very limited income.
Uh-huh. Well, we should break.